Welcome. My name is Sheng, and I'm an artist based in the United States. It is a pleasure for me today to share with you, as part of Pride House 2012 at the London Olympic Games, my photo series Fearless, a 9-year-long project about athletes on high school and college sports teams in the United States and Canada who also happen to self-identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. This is the first time that Fearless has been edited into a video slideshow exhibition, and will feature the images of some of the over 100 athletes in the project so far, along with a voiceover of myself talking about this work. It is only the second time that Fearless has been exhibited in Europe, and the first time in Great Britain. So it's an absolute honor for me to share this work with you today, so please enjoy. Thank you. As I mentioned before, this is the first time that I've done something like this with Fearless, a video slideshow. And to be honest, I wasn't quite sure if I should use music, or just have silence underneath the photographs. But after some thinking, I decided it would be best if I just talked, if I just voiced over the photographs with my thoughts about this project, about why it's important to me and why I did it. I began Fearless about 9 years ago, in 2003, the year after I graduated from college. The subject matter is actually very personal to me, as I was a former closeted junior athlete. Tennis was my sport, and I had played tennis since I was 7 years old. I should have played in college, but as I finished high school, I began to slowly come to terms with my sexuality, and I couldn't see myself being an athlete at the same time as being out. So I simply just quit playing one day when I was 17 without really telling people why. I wonder if when people look at my photographs, they think that I must have been this amazing high school gay activist, or that I started photography when I was very young. The truth of the matter is that I was neither. It actually took me over a year to eventually come out during my first and second years of college. And I was actually often very sad and depressed. Because previously, for over 10 years, I had been on a tennis court almost every day, practicing or competing. And suddenly, I was no longer playing and didn't know what to do with all this free time. I didn't tell anyone about my sexuality for over a year, and just really let my confused and lonely thoughts wander in my head alone. To help myself, I took a photography class as an elective, hoping that would keep my mind off of things. And in many ways, photography is what saved me. I remember a photography mentor of mine saying that you should always just photograph what you know. So when I graduated college, I set out to photograph this series on athletes who played high school and college sports, but did what I could never do. They were out to their teammates, coaches, and classmates, while still enjoying the sports they loved. My own life, my own coming out experience, was so filled with fear, and these people who I started to photograph seemed so free from that. I was amazed by their bravery and courage. They became heroes of mine, and are still very much that for me. I didn't really know what this photo series would become. I started by simply asking friends of mine if they knew any out lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender athletes. And slowly through word of mouth, I began to find more and more people to photograph. In the first 2 years of the project, I photographed about 20 athletes around the United States, using the funds saved from 3 part-time jobs in order to afford the film and travel involved with the cost of the project. I was driven to photograph by simply the inspiration of these athletes, who motivated me and encouraged me every step of the way, because it was like seeing someone that you wish you could be, and that if you just got closer to them, part of their magic would rub off on you. Oftentimes, the athletes share with me about the feeling of being alone. It's why I actually chose to photograph them singularly on a field, or by a pool, or in a gym. I wanted to capture a moment that spoke about this loneliness, but at the same time, capture a look of defiance and one of strength, looking back at the camera, looking back at those that are staring at them. It's often been said that If people are staring at you for being different, the way to get them to stop is to simply stare back. I wanted to capture portraits of these people that were honest and authentic. And yeah, as a professional photographer, I probably could have made them more glamorous or add makeup or done these more like fashion shoots or magazine shoots. But I realized that that would be the wrong message. Because what I wanted to show is that these people are just like you and me. That you look at these photographs and you see these portraits of somebody that you recognize from your high school team. They could have been your captain, or someone who won that really important race for you at the national championships. I wanted a look of familiarity. It angers me sometimes when I see all the attention paid on the question of when is a professional male athlete going to finally come out. It's as if we think that one day some Olympic gold medalist, superstar football player or basketball player will make the announcement that they might be gay. And it's as if all the homophobia, teasing, bullying, suicide will disappear. But what I've discovered are the stories of all these unknown people. There are high school students and college students, some as young as 15 years old, who face the really horrible prospect of being bullied or harassed or beaten up by their fellow teammates for simply being who they are. And these young people do this incredible thing. They simply say, I'm going to be who I am. And they risk losing everything. And I know that one of the reasons why people say professional athletes or Olympic athletes don't want to come out is because that they risk a lot, that they risk endorsements, or they risk fans, or that mentally they might be so boggled down by everything that they wind up losing, and then they don't become the top athlete that they could be. But to be honest, when you're 15 years old, and you're scared that your parents will disown you, and that your community will turn their back on you, and that you will have absolutely nothing if you come out, I think that person has a lot more to lose than someone making millions of dollars a year. I was at Nike World Headquarters recently, and a slogan that was up on one of their walls in their store really struck me. It said, "Sport doesn't care if you're number one in the world, unemployed, old, a mother, a teenager, boring, straight, transgender, female, autistic, unranked, married, beautiful, a father, ugly, mean, bisexual, lesbian, poor, gay, popular, married, male, rich, blind, black, white, blue, or any other color of the rainbow. It only cares about how good you are." I stood there reading this, and it struck me. This idea that all that matters is for you to finish the fastest or win. And it didn't matter who you were. And it just struck me as something so true. I used to think that success for me would be if a professional athlete saw Fearless and said to themselves, wow, look at all these young people who have come out. Maybe it's not going to be so hard for me to take that step. But as I began to photograph this series and I began to think about my own life, I realized that that goal was short-sighted. Success of Fearless is if a 16-year-old, the same version of me, who is that scared, closeted high school athlete, if that person saw Fearless and felt better about himself or herself. I realized that I'm never going to change the culture of sport myself. But if I just move the goalposts just 1 yard, maybe I've done my part. I'm hoping to just work on this project for maybe another year. This is currently the 9th year of me working on this series, and next year will be the 10th. I'm hoping then to be able to publish this work into a large photo book featuring over 200 athletes. So far, I've photographed around 150, and I'm currently raising the money necessary to be able to finish this project next year. And at the end of this video slideshow, you'll see a website, www.fearlessphotobook.com, where you can learn more about donating or pre-ordering a book. The end of this project next year makes me hopeful. It makes me hopeful because perhaps one day we can see a world in which homophobia in sports no longer exists, that all athletes, regardless of skill level, can feel comfortable with their teammates, and with the world to be able to share who they are. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about this work and for me sharing it with you today. It's been a pleasure.